So she's got to be the main focus, huh? Not me.
Yeah.
There's enough light, Amna?
Yeah.
So I am in Shillong with Patricia Mukhim, who is Padma Shri, one of the major thinkers of our times in the Northeast. She's an environmentalist, a human rights activist, and edits the Shillong Times, among other things. She's also a member of the National Security Advisory Board of India. Patricia, it's really wonderful to see you in Shillong. For my show yatra, I'm meeting people from around the country and trying to get their views. So particularly for the Northeast, what do you think are the most important challenges of our times here?
To me, I think it's also a challenge that is before the country, which is the growing youth population and our inability to think for them, to articulate any kind of policy for them, where we can, think in terms of managing the human resource and thinking in which direction the youth should be turning to for employment and other facilities. And also our very status quo education policy. In fact, in most of the states, we don't even have an education policy, so the governments don't know which way education is going. Students are doing the same old courses, coming out of colleges and remaining unemployed. They're not skilled people, so they're unskilled, unemployed people. And recently in Bangalore, a couple of arts and science colleges have closed down. About 8 of them, and I think by next year, about 80 of them are going to close down for want of students. Now, I think this is something that might also affect the Northeast sooner than later. Unless the governments rise to the occasion and think out what are the professional courses that young people can take up, where they can then invest their talents in making this Northeast grow. We have several resources here, but we do not have a resource management education center. We do not know how to manage our rivers, our waters. We are the resource of fresh water. And we are told that in the next century, perhaps, or very soon, the world will get into a war for fresh water. Here we have fresh water, we do not know how to conserve it. We haven't had schemes or designs for conserving water. So to me, these are a few of the challenges besides many others.
Thanks. But in addition, since the Northeast has had so much intervention from the central government in terms of funding and so on, there's this thing one hears all the time that there's a sort of dependency culture that has been established, where there's an expectation that government money will flow all the time, and there's a whole network of people that has got established who are making more of the benefits out of that money for themselves than for the general public. So how to break that nexus?
The way to break that nexus is to get people to own those schemes that are coming here. We don't own those schemes because we do not understand what they mean. They are all in Sanskritized names. So unless people know what those schemes are, unless they know that they have a stake in those schemes and they participate, there's a full participation in the implementation, in the monitoring, in the evaluation, then it will always be a government Sarkari scheme, and that's what it is. We have a plethora of schemes. In fact, in the villages as we go, we have so many of these committees: village employment committee, village education committee, an NRHM committee.
Are they active? Are they able to?
No, they're there in name because the scheme says you have to have a committee. So there is a committee. Now, whether that committee is capacitated to understand what it's up to, it's a tall order. You can't expect the villagers to in 1 day or in 7 days understand all the implications of the scheme. Look at NREGA, there are so many conditions.
Yeah.
How can they do it? And that's why I have personally been pleading that capacity building should be an ongoing project inbuilt into every scheme, not just NREGA or NRHM.
You know, interestingly, what you said about the Northeast is exactly what I feel for the rest of the country. I've been in Chhattisgarh, I've been in Jharkhand. Most recently, I was in Bihar. Now, due to the thanks to the 73rd Amendment, panchayats are in every place you go. Even in scheduled areas now, there are panchayats. And there are members are there, they are having meetings. On the other side, thanks to Bharat Nirman and NREGA, government money is also coming. But you don't really see much signature of the local people on their imprint on the schemes, you know. And the answer is capacity building. So what do you think people like you and me and other activists, hopefully some of them are watching this blog, can do to create a kind of a nationwide network or a movement for truly building institutional capacity at the grassroots?
See, I think it is impossible for us to go and do the implementing part. But we can certainly be a very strong advocacy group, because unless we push for something, governments don't respond. And there's not enough of that pushing, there's not enough of that demand, from the people who are supposed to be benefiting from those schemes. We don't really know what's in it for them. So I think it's important for us to build a strong advocacy group, to push governments to do the necessary things, so that when the schemes come, people are prepared for them, and not to bring a scheme and then get people prepared. And I'm totally against this, the planning commission's one shoe fits all kind of program. It doesn't work. The NREGA here will not work if you talk about creating 1,000 ponds. How do you create 1,000 ponds in a hilly area? And this is what we found. Sometimes people just dig a pond and they don't know why they're digging it. And in Meghalaya, people have dug ponds in the properties of private individuals just to get a job. And then after that, what happens? It's the private individual who benefits. So I think what people like us can do is just to build a strong advocacy group, which I don't think is there at the moment. A whole network of people saying the same thing in a very orchestrated way.
Well, thank you very much. You're doing this already in 1,000 ways, and power to your work. Thank you.
Thank you.